Now, we're just a few days to go before the local elections. A new poll suggests support for Labour is plunging in its traditional strongholds in inner London, while the Greens are surging. The survey by the group More in Common shows the Greens ahead of Labour in Hackney and closing the gap in Islington, Lambeth and Lewisham, all are councils Labour has dominated. The poll also indicates that Reform could be about to make gains across outer London at the expense of the Tories and again Labour. Our political correspondent Simon Harris has the latest.
The leader of the Labour Party,
Less than 48 hours before the polls open, the Prime Minister was rallying his troops in Southwark. If he is worried about how Londoners will vote, he has good reason. According to a More in Common opinion poll, Labour's once rock-solid support in the capital has crumbled.
Labour are in big trouble, so this is traditionally an area where they weigh votes rather than count them. In 2022, they had 43% of the vote. We've got them down 15%.
The poll shows Labour on 28%, the Greens in second place on 20%, the Conservatives on 17%, Reform UK on 15% ahead of the Lib Dems on 14% and Independents on 6%. The poll suggests the Greens pose the biggest threat to Labour in Hackney, Enfield, Islington, Lambeth, Lewisham and Newham. Not long ago, the idea of Labour facing a serious threat in its inner London boroughs was unthinkable. Here in Lambeth, it's 44 years since any party other than Labour controlled the council. In the 1980s, Lambeth's Labour leaders were embroiled in bitter rows with Margaret Thatcher's government over cuts, earning them the nickname the Looney Left. Today, it's Labour painting the Greens as extremists.
In my borough, which is Lambeth, 2 Green Party candidates have been arrested on allegations of stirring up racial hatred because the Green Party have not checked the backgrounds of the people they've put up for election.
Those cases have processes going on and it would be completely inappropriate for me to talk about exactly what they're doing. But I do also know that the party is going to be bringing in new anti-Semitism training for everyone because this has been a huge learning experience.
In outer London boroughs like Bexley and Hillingdon, it's Reform threatening the Conservatives.
A lot of them are seeing the effects of mass migration in their towns and villages. They're seeing the effects of extremely high taxes. Businesses are closing down, antisocial behaviour is on the rise, police stations have been shut by the Conservatives and Labour, and they feel that they've been forgotten.
People in Bromley and Bexley are right next to Kent, where Reform made all of these promises about cutting council tax in Kent and how they were going to bring in this Doge to find savings. What have they done? They've raised council tax. They couldn't find savings because the Conservatives actually were running Kent very well.
At the start of the Lib Dems campaign, Sir Ed Davey hoped for big wins in Surrey. Today's poll puts them in with a chance of taking the London borough of Sutton from Labour, although Sir Ed has ambitions well beyond the capital.
I've seen how well our campaigning is going, so I expect to make big gains off the Conservatives in Surrey and Sussex, in Hampshire, in Huntingdonshire and Hertfordshire, and gains off Labour in London, in Birmingham and elsewhere. So we go into these elections very confident.
Tonight, as he addressed party activists, Sir Keir Starmer conceded the election in London was challenging. Simon Harris, ITV News.
But first, a final push for votes is underway on the last day of campaigning ahead of tomorrow's elections. In London, one of the tightest contests is in Hillingdon. The Conservatives have been in charge since 2006, but that could all be about to change, as our political correspondent Simon Harris explains.
Hillingdon is flag country. There are official ones celebrating the Battle of Britain and unofficial ones strapped to lampposts, which Labour has vowed to pull down if it wins control of the council in tomorrow's election.
The flags that we see on the lampposts, they need to come down. They're dividing our communities, they're weaponising and making people feel unsafe, and we want to do the exact opposite and provide safer streets.
The Conservatives have run Hillingdon for the past 20 years. At the last election, only Tory and Labour councillors were elected, but that could be about to change. The latest opinion poll suggests Hillingdon is unique among London boroughs, the only one where the contest is split 3 ways between Conservative, Labour and Reform UK.
I hereby declare that the said Boris Johnson is duly elected.
Boris Johnson, the former Prime Minister and Mayor of London, was one of Hillingdon's Conservative MPs until he resigned in 2022 after the Partygate scandal.
And I hereby declare that the said Danny Beales
At the last election, Labour's Danny Beales became the new MP for Uxbridge and South Ruislip, although his earlier attempt to win the seat, after Johnson stood down, was torpedoed by local opposition to ULEZ. Hillingdon was one of a number of outer London boroughs where ULEZ cameras were frequently attacked. Steve Tuckwell was briefly the MP between Johnson and Beales. He's a long-time Hillingdon councillor and all too aware that reform is on the march here.
In the general election, we saw people voting for reform, which cost me the seat in the general election. People woke up the following day to a Labour MP. Hillingdon residents are alive to the fact if they vote for reform, they've got the risk of a Labour council.
Reform UK accuses the current Tory council leaders of wasting money on language translators.
When we're looking at a council with vast areas of spend that are a problem, that's one area that we think should be looked at. We think people should be required to learn English if they're going to integrate with this country.
Labour is hoping to win over voters by scrapping the council's fee for garden waste collections.
I think it's a bit much for the oldies because, you know, I'm a pensioner. Suddenly you've gone from nothing to £77.
Doesn't really bother me, to be honest. I mean, I'm not paying for it. I will have alternative. You know, I'll drop mine into the dump.
Again, it's an extra problem for households like my mum, 80 years old, can't dump the green grass. You know, has to get me or someone else. Just putting pressure on households that can do without it.
In this election, Hillingdon joins a list of councils under the heading One to Watch. Simon Harris, ITV News, Uxbridge.
Simon, just over 12 hours to go until the polls open. Could we be seeing some dramatic shifts in political control come Friday morning?
Well, Lucrezia, these are the first council elections in London which look set to smash the traditional two-party system. It's a measure of how tight things are that Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative leader, arrived here in Harefield a short time ago to talk to party activists. Who would ever have thought that Hillingdon would be anything other than a straight Labour Conservative fight? But these elections could dramatically change the political landscape in London.
We've had a period now with a Labour government, a Labour mayor and a majority of Labour councillors, but that looks like that's going to change this time around, and that dynamic between the national government, the mayor and councils that are maybe controlled by the Greens or Reform or are in no overall control, that could really change the dynamic in solving the big problems that London has, things like housing.
The results of these elections in London could influence Labour MPs as they debate whether to topple Sir Keir Starmer, could equally influence Conservative MPs as they decide whether to hang on with Kemi Badenoch. The results are expected in the early hours of Friday morning.
All right, Simon in Hillingdon, thank you.
Last time we were here in 2022, Reform UK had 0 councillors and was a newly established party. Fast forward 4 years, and they're the big winners of these local elections. 53 seats as we go on air, with results still coming in. To the right, Labour in London has been squeezed by Nigel Farage's party, and to the left, the Greens. They are celebrating 2 elected mayors in the city and taking control of their first council in Waltham Forest. So far, we've got results from all over London. This is what the electoral map looked like in 2022. Let's go back and take a look. Then, Labour gained majority control in Barnet, Wandsworth and Westminster councils. But if we look at the situation now, Reform UK has taken control of Havering, giving the party its first London council. They've also taken control of Essex County Council. Over in Westminster, the Conservatives have won back the borough from Labour. Well, look, there's still plenty of results to come, particularly around London and in the home counties. We'll have more results as they come, and we'll also be going over to Reform HQ to speak to their mayoral candidates. But first, here's our political correspondent, Simon Harris, on the parties making the most of Labour's losses.
Sorry. Nigel Farage couldn't contain his delight. Havering was top of his London hit list, and the moment victory was assured, he arrived in Romford to celebrate, flanked by 2 ex-Tory defectors.
What we're going to do here is, whilst many of these are new to politics, we've also got some old lags. Sorry, Keith. Well, you were the council leader, you know. So we've also got some experience of how to run this place, and we're very excited about the prospects.
It's hard to know which is Keir Starmer's worst nightmare. Reform winning its first London borough, or the Greens ejecting the mayor in the Labour heartland of Hackney.
Zoe Garbett is duly elected as the Mayor of Hackney. Thank you.
The new Mayor of Hackney is Zoe Garbett, a member of the London Assembly.
Today we start the fight back. In this election, over and over, people kept telling me that they felt let down.
In Hackney's Ridley Road Market, it wasn't hard to find Green voters echoing that sentiment.
I feel really let down and betrayed by the Labour government, and so it's reflected in my vote. Thank you.
For the Greens?
For the Greens, yeah.
What made you choose Green?
Their policy on Palestine.
There was 2 different votes. I voted one Labour, one Green.
Do you think your victory here will bring the Prime Minister down?
We need to look across what's happened for the country. I think that, people are being really loud about the failing Labour government, and I think they need to listen to the policies and the hope that people are voting for and respond to that.
Garbett will now stand down from the London Assembly to focus on her new job. Even before the seismic event in Hackney, the writing had been on the wall in other Labour boroughs. In the early hours of this morning, the party lost control of Wandsworth and Westminster, where the Conservatives were re-elected. Victory was especially sweet for Westminster Tories, who lost the council to Labour 4 years ago. Sadiq Khan's controversial decision to pedestrianise Oxford Street may have helped their return to power.
We've had a Westminster run by Labour, a Labour mayor and a Labour government. Nobody was speaking up for Westminster. You've only got to look at what happened in Oxford Street. The mayor walks in, right, roughshod over residents and roughshod over the local Labour Party.
When they've done things like the Oxford Street potential closure with Sadiq Khan, it's going to enrage all the residents' businesses, and I think that it was something that was going to happen, and Sadiq Khan should have looked out for that.
At Bexley in south-east London, Reform failed to topple the Conservatives, despite expectations.
Given what the opinion polls were saying, given how arrogant Reform were, they were going around saying they were going to win every seat and have a clean sweep, and yet they've won only a small handful.
But other Reform triumphs included winning control of Essex County Council from the Tories and taking Thurrock Council from Labour.
Basically, the general public don't like Keir Starmer, and that's what I was getting on the doors,
It's Labour's defeat in Hackney which may haunt the Prime Minister in the coming days. He insisted he would not walk away and plunge the country into chaos. But London's Labour MPs will now be wondering if it can happen in Hackney, it could happen to them. Simon Harris, ITV News.
Hello again, and now the main stories in London. The political landscape in the capital has changed dramatically over the last 36 hours, and a red blanket that once covered London's councils has been diluted with a sea of green and a splash of turquoise. 2 days ago, 21 of 32 London boroughs were run by Labour. Now, with 3 still to declare, it's just 9. Labour stronghold Lambeth is the latest to go. Mayor Sadiq Khan told ITV News London he's angry at basic mistakes made at national level, but didn't call for a change of leader. He's been speaking to our political correspondent, Simon Harris.
Kaiser Tamora Hussein Rana.
More than 24 hours after the polls closed, results were still being announced in some London boroughs.
Kevin Brown and Tam Langley have been duly elected as councillors for Stockwell East Ward.
In Lambeth, for so long a Labour bastion, the party lost its majority as the Greens picked up seats. But despite calls from some Labour MPs for the Prime Minister to resign, he was having none of it.
It's really important that we reflect and respond when the electorate send a message like that. It's right that we do that. I think we have to set out the path ahead, and that's what I intend to do in coming days.
If the Prime Minister's got it so wrong, how can you have confidence in him to put things right?
Well, I'm not calling for a change in the leadership, but I'm quite clear in calling for a change. We need to be more bolder. We need to address the cost of living crisis. We've got to help people with their living standards. We've got to make sure we fix the broken housing market.
The Green Party juggernaut has transformed the political map of London. The Green Party's victories included 2 of London's 5 directly elected borough mayors, one in Hackney, the other here in Lewisham. Before the election, both were Labour. The new mayor, Liam Shrivastava, says he was on the verge of giving up politics a year ago. He's a former Labour councillor who defected to the Greens. He says Labour took voters for granted.
We had an incredibly complacent Labour-led council. So in 2018, every single councillor elected was Labour. In 2022, every single councillor elected in Lewisham was Labour, including me. I was a Labour councillor, but I left the party because of that complacency, because of not really listening to residents.
In Redbridge, Labour's relief at keeping control of the council was shared by one of the local MPs.
For all of those naysayers that were saying that I couldn't win Ilford North at the next general election, I will be standing here in Ilford North at the next general election. This is my home. I've served this community for well over a decade. I'm not going anywhere. I'm in it to win it.
And more results were being announced in Croydon, where voters gave the Conservative mayor a second term. Simon Harris, ITV News.